Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Aneel Aranha. Today is the 14th of June 2019. We're going to reflect on Matthew 5:27 to 32. Listen. Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." The Gospel of the Lord. I find myself very bemused when I hear about couples saying that they practice a look but don't touch policy in their relationships. This policy basically allows a partner to look at another man or woman, provided they draw the line there. I've always found this absurd, even in my days before Christ, because when you look at someone, it isn't merely about glancing at them casually, but seeing them as objects of desire and fantasizing about possessing them. As Jesus points out very clearly in today's passage, there isn't any real difference between imagining being intimate with somebody and actually being intimate with them. Cheating on somebody in your heart is still cheating. Besides, as all of you watching this know too well, no affair has ever begun spontaneously. It is always the look, that desire to possess, that has preceded it. The forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden is a prime example. I often illustrate how the devil worked there. He wouldn't have merely offered the fruit to Eve and told her to eat of it. She would have refused point blank. So first, he would have told her to look. "There's no harm in looking, is there?" he would have said, and rationalizing it to herself, Eve would have decided that there indeed was no harm in looking. "There's no harm in touching," he would have told her next, and then he'd have said, "There's no harm in smelling," and then without him having to say another word, Eve would have bitten into the apple, because so close to her mouth, it would have been impossible for her to resist. So, what should one do? Simple. Don't look. It all begins there with the first look of longing, the first look of lust. And often this first look isn't even at a man or woman in real life. It's looking at pornography. It objectifies people and debases an act of beauty. If one is already down the slippery slope, what is one to do? Jesus says, if your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. He's not talking about mutilating oneself. He's talking about eliminating the source of temptation. And sometimes one has to take radical steps to do this. Let me end with the words of James. This is from the first chapter, verses 12 onwards. "Blessed is anyone who endures temptation. Such a one has stood the test and will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. No one, when tempted, should say, 'I am being tempted by God,' for God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. But one is tempted by one's own desire, being lured and enticed by it. Then, when that desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and that sin, when it is fully grown, gives birth to death." So, don't look.